If you walk into church, sing the songs, shake a few hands, and still leave with almost no real friends, it is easy to assume something is wrong with you. Maybe you have even told yourself, "I am just bad at community. I must be a weak Christian." But feeling unseen in a crowd of believers does not automatically mean you are broken, unspiritual, or unwanted. Scripture tells us that God sets the lonely in families in Psalm 68, verse 6. So even when you feel like the odd one out on Sunday, He has not misplaced you. Very often, God is doing a quieter work in people who do not easily fit the social rhythm of church life. If you have spent months or years feeling like the outsider who slips in and out, there are real spiritual reasons that may be happening. Let us walk through 5 quiet gifts from God that often show up in Christians who have few, if any, close church friends. First, if you do not have many church friends, you may be unusually sensitive to what is fake. You notice when conversations stay at a performance level, when people know the right words but do not really mean them. You pick up on gossip, subtle power games, or people using spiritual language to impress each other instead of to honor God. That sensitivity can make normal church social life feel heavy and confusing. Instead of feeling refreshed after service, you can walk away grieved or frustrated. But that discernment is often a gift from God, not a defect. He may have wired you to see past the surface so you do not get swept into cliques, drama, or shallow spirituality. When you quietly refuse to play along with church politicking, you are not being antisocial. You are guarding your heart and honoring the Lord. Second, you probably crave relationships that go much deeper than hallway small talk. You can smile and chat about the weather or the game, but your soul does not live there. You long for conversations where people confess sin, share real struggles, and talk about what God is actually doing in their hearts. Because of that hunger, you may find it hard to stay engaged when the talk never moves past, "How is your week?" and "We should hang out sometime." You are not avoiding people, you are avoiding empty interaction. You would rather sit alone in your car than force a connection that has no honesty in it. That longing for depth is another quiet gift. God often stirs that desire in believers He wants to use as safe places for others, people who will listen without pretending, ask real questions, and help carry burdens instead of keeping everything on the surface. When the Bible calls us to consider how to stir one another up to love and good works, and not to neglect meeting together, in Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25, that includes you. Your desire for real, honest fellowship is part of how God moves His people toward that picture, not proof that you are failing at it. Third, your own loneliness may have trained your eyes to see the person everyone else overlooks. While most people rush to greet their usual friends, you tend to notice the person standing alone by the door, the widow slipping out early, the teenager scrolling on their phone because they do not know who to talk to. You recognize that feeling because you live with it. So instead of working the room, you often find yourself drawn to the edges, the corners, the back row, the lobby. This can make you feel even more out of the loop, but it is actually a reflection of God's heart. He leaves the 99 for the one. Many times, He uses believers who feel unseen to be the very ones who see others. If you have few close friends at church, it might be because God is slowly shaping you into someone who refuses to let people slip through the cracks. Your pain becomes part of your ministry. Fourth, Christians with very few church friends often develop a deep, almost stubborn dependence on Christ Himself. When you do not have a big circle to lean on, you learn to bring more of your tears, questions, and joys straight to the Lord. You might spend more time praying alone in your room than talking things out in a group. You may feel awkward inserting yourself into existing friend circles, so you pour out your heart to God instead. On the outside, that can look like distance. On the inside, it can create a very real friendship with Jesus, a daily dependence that does not disappear when seasons or social groups change. This is not to say you do not need people. God made us for community. But in this lonely chapter, He may be building a foundation where your faith stands on Him first, not on whether people include you. That kind of dependence is rare, and He often forms it in hidden places. Fifth, if you have been hurt by believers, ignored in small groups, or disappointed by shallow church relationships, your heart has probably raised its standards. You do not want Christian friends in name only. You long for people who speak truth in love, who can handle hard conversations, who do not disappear when life gets messy. Because of that, you are more cautious about who you let close. You watch how people treat others. You listen for whether their faith shows up outside of Sunday. You may take longer to open up, not because you are cold, but because you have learned that your heart is valuable and should not be handed to just anyone who knows a few Bible verses. That higher standard is not bitterness by itself. It can be wisdom. When God heals your hurt and steadies your trust, that discernment will help you build friendships that are honest, loyal, and rooted in Him, not just in shared hobbies or similar life stages. So if you walk out of church most weeks without a single deep conversation, it does not automatically mean you are broken or unlovable. It may mean God has given you a sharper sense of what is fake, a stronger hunger for real fellowship, tender eyes for the forgotten, a deeper dependence on Jesus, and wiser standards for the people who get close to your heart. You are not an accident sitting in the back row. You are part of the body on purpose, even if your season feels quiet and hidden. In his letter to the Corinthians, Paul explains that God Himself places each part of the body exactly where He wants it. In 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 18 through 22. That means you are not randomly placed in your church. You are intentionally positioned, even if your role feels small and unseen. In time, God can use these quiet gifts to bless others who feel exactly like you do right now. If this helped you see your church loneliness differently, and you want more short, Bible-centered videos that speak to the parts of your walk most people do not talk about, consider subscribing and sharing this with one other believer who feels alone in their own church. The next video may give language to another ache you have never been able to explain.